This weekend, the latest Disney animation film, Raya and the Last Dragon, drops in theaters, yes! As well as on Disney Plus, if you pay a premium price. So let's talk about it. Raya and the Last Dragon tells the story of a girl trying to find the last dragon in order to unite all of the kingdoms and stop an evil threat. So I've been eagerly anticipating this film ever since the very first trailer dropped. It seemed like a Disney animation film right up my alley. So, did it live up to my expectations? Let's get started talking about the good. And the first thing I loved about this film is that it is a big, sweeping fantasy epic. There's a bunch of world building, fleshing out the history of this kingdom and this world. There's mythology to it all. There's dragons. There's elements that are almost kind of post-apocalyptic in a certain sense. The stakes are real and high. Actions have consequences. And so it just felt like this big story, while at the same time being one that my 7-year-old daughter could enjoy. You know, it's a big, gigantic story about multiple different groups battling to see who will be in charge of the kingdom while one girl has a dragon, you know, like Game of Thrones for kids. Okay, it's probably not that much like Game of Thrones for kids. Another great thing about this movie is the characters are multi-layered. Raya is this very talented, skilled adventurer, but she also has some big character flaws. The events that happened early in her life shape who she is as an adult, and she has flaws because of it and has to grow throughout the movie. And at the same time, our villain has things about her that make her sympathetic. We understand why she's doing in light of the people around her and what they're saying to her. And nothing is just this black and white, simple good versus evil, even though at times it's presented that way. But all of it ties into the messaging of the story of understanding that people are complex and there's a reason they're doing what they're doing, and you need to understand what that reason is if you want to work with them. And the movie incorporates these character arcs with characters and messaging really nicely. Going into the movie, I wasn't quite sure how the lead dragon played by Awkwafina would play in the film, but it works really nicely. It's a movie that has a world that's rather bleak and is falling apart because of the things that have transpired. And the Awkwafina dragon is so optimistic and hopeful that it's very contagious. There's things that maybe she might be annoying to some people in certain ways, but she has an infectious optimism to the character that it's hard not to root for a character that's trying so hard to believe the best in others. And as this is an action-adventure animated film, the action is choreographed really nicely. I mean, I don't know that we've ever seen a Disney animation film with choreography like this that's designed to be so dynamic and visceral while still being family friendly. The director had made some jokes about how he had to cut some stuff back so that it wouldn't get an R rating. I mean, he was joking, but as you're watching it, you know what he's talking about because it is so dynamic in the way that the fights take place and the way the camera moves to visualize all of it. And as we move into the third act, our lead characters are throwing a lot of actual punches, and the movie itself packs an emotional punch because you care about the characters and what they value and what their character arcs mean in terms of this world, in terms of their relationships to one another. And so it's so satisfying as you kind of move into the final segments and see how these plot lines are resolved. And the final test of whether a movie is good or bad, what did my kids think about the film? Well, my daughter absolutely loved it. She said it was her favorite Disney film of the last 10 years or something like that. Awesome! Wasn't a perfect film, though. I had a few issues, so let's move on to the bad. And the big thing that comes to mind here is that the movie's story and juvenile humor don't feel like that they go together. You have this big, epic fantasy story that has gigantic stakes, an important, relevant message, and you have farting bugs. And this boss baby character, or con baby character.
Really? A con baby?
That just doesn't feel like it meshes with all the other stuff. Of course, it's a Disney animation film. It's designed for the entire family, and I suspect they looked at the story that they were telling, and it feels aiming for a bit of an older age than some of their other animation films, and so they went maybe a little bit lower with the humor.
Look how close my butt is to my head.
And that was easily the weakest aspect to me whenever they did kind of this low brow humor with farts and babies and stuff like that. But honestly, that was my only issue with the movie, some of the humor. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts on this one, be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Let me know what you're anticipating for the film, or once you see it, what did you think about it? Also, if you wanted to hear my thoughts on more Disney animation films, you can check out this playlist right up here with several of my rankings of different eras, the post-Renaissance, the revival, the Renaissance. Also, a week from now, I'm going to rank all the 21st century Disney animation films. That's coming in about 1 week. Be ready for it. I went into this movie with pretty high expectations, and besides a few jokes, it did not let me down.
I like it a lot.
The story was engaging, the characters were likable, relatable, and multi-layered, and the message was clear and communicated in a way that felt earned. All in all, a very solid family film. Overall, I'm gonna go with an A- on the entertainment scale and 8.5 out of 10, and you should absolutely check out this movie whenever you're able to. If you enjoyed this video, check out that playlist right over there for more content like this. Also, remember to come back next week for my ranking of all the 21st century Disney animation films. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.